Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of Reliving the Extreme. Nate, your Max, and your host here with you, along with my brother Aaron.
Hello, everybody.
And Mr. Chad Austin. Just kidding. Chad's
Hey,
not here.
guys.
Yeah. What's up, ham bones? We don't know. I haven't heard. We heard from him this afternoon. Haven't heard from him here in a couple minutes before the recording. So if Chad,
Maybe he's having more weather issues. I don't know.
possibly, if he gets on the show, we'll be glad to have him in. If not, we'll just have a shorter show this week, I guess. What we are reviewing, of course, this week on Reliving the Extreme is the episode of ECW Hardcore TV from October the 1st, 1996. And this is one of those episodes that had a lot going on in a very short amount of time. The runtime on Peacock was only 40 minutes, but they fit a lot into that 40 minutes this week.
Yes, they did. Like I said right before I said it about other shows or whatever at this time, like when wrestling was 1 hour, 2 hour broadcasts, it's like they seem to fit more into like a 1 hour or an hour and 30 minutes than some companies fit into like the entire week of their shows. It's insane.
Well, and I agree. And as much as I am a fan of, I've watched WWE Monday Night Raw every episode since it started, even the bad times like 2019 old Vince booking. I suffered through it just to watch it, and those 3 hour shows felt so unbelievably long. I guess even at 90 minutes, because then I watched it on the Hulu version. That was even that 90 minutes felt unbelievably long. But I'll say this: as much as I am a fan of Triple H's booking and the way WWE's been going since he took over, I really, really enjoy it more than I have in years. 3 hours is still too fucking long for that show. I'm like, oh
Well,
my God.
that was their last 3 hour one.
I hope when it goes to Netflix, it's going to be 2 hours, but I heard it's still going to be 3 hours.
Well, right now it's only two. Like he scaled it down to 2 hours. Raw's back down to 2 hours. So
Well,
who knows?
hopefully it stays that way. But
And
anyway,
sorry, I was
no,
just
I
gonna
guess
say
fine.
with a Netflix thing, if it's 3 hours, I could see if they went 3 hours, I could see him doing, um, especially with him being with TKO now and wanting it to be a sports feel. I could see that first hour maybe being like a pre-show to Raw.
I've always said I don't know why they don't make the first hour of Raw, like, I don't know, make it the women's show. You know what I mean? Like, make that their show. Let the women's
I think
division.
I think it's because if they did that and it didn't get good ratings, it would look bad.
Maybe.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
It'd be kind of like the WNBA. I'm not a big sports guy, but the WNBA has been picking up more because they have a couple key athletes that women are getting behind. But it was like that before, where they did the WNBA, but it was a rough go because there weren't a lot of people watching it. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? So I think that's part of it. I think it should be a pre-show.
And I wouldn't argue with that either. Um, so the 40-minute show that we're talking about here, October 1st, 1996, we start the show off with Taz entering the ring with Team Taz in tow as they escort him to the ring. And the match is Taz versus Johnny Smith. Very rarely do I watch. Okay, we were actually just spoiler alert, or not spoiler alert, but behind the curtain here. We were going to record the show 2 days ago, and Chad had some errors on his side. Apparently still does. But anyway, so I had gotten we were on vacation. We had been out of town. We came back. We made the plan to record Friday night. And then I realized Friday during the day, I had not yet watched the fucking show with everything going on. I'm like, well, shit, I got to watch this show before tonight. So anyway, long story short, very, very rarely is my wife around when I'm watching the show for review, because I watch it up here at night in my office, and she's already in bed and blah blah blah. But anyway, that day she happened to be sitting on the couch next to me while I watched it on the TV downstairs to review it, and she said, "That whistle is fucking annoying."
You know, it's funny. You want to know something funny?
What?
It's literally at the bottom of my notes. Like, I'll hold it up to the camera so you can see. At the end of the Johnny Smith match, it says, Bill Alfonso is fucking annoying during this match.
Well, there we go.
Um,
It's a
um,
general consensus here.
I think part of it is a lot like when it got to being like Sabu, and I'm not knocking Taz at all, but
Right.
like Sabu has so much stuff going on in his matches,
Mm-hmm.
that I think maybe the whistle's kind of an afterthought. But when a
Right.
whistle is going off during chain wrestling, it's super annoying. It also didn't help that like four other dudes had a whistle that were in the crowd,
True.
and they were trying to whistle off Bill Alfonso, and Bill Alfonso was whistling back at them, so the whistles were intensified. But I was like, yeah, it distracted me from like a really good match,
Yeah, because like
and
I
not in
said,
a good way.
she wasn't even She was on her phone or whatever. She wasn't even watching what was on the television. But she looked up from her phone. She was like, "That whistle is fucking annoying." So yeah, but
It was pretty bad during this match.
yes, it was. The match itself is very good. Taz and Johnny Smith. Um, the kind of the story they're telling is during the match. At some point, Johnny Smith gets his shoulder kind of a shoulder hurt. He gets his shoulder hurt during the match, and he tries to work back against said injury, but Taz, of course, focuses on the shoulder. So it's a good technical match. Um, the Johnny Smith, to be honest with you, I'm going to be honest. I haven't seen a lot of Johnny Smith, but from what I have seen, and saying I haven't seen a lot of him means I haven't seen what his personality was like. But what I've seen of him in the ring, bell to bell, super solid worker.
His personality wasn't a personality.
Gotcha.
I mean, it like there's a reason that he was like big in Japan and ECW, and like wasn't cutting a lot of promos and stuff. It was he was like I don't want to say it like he just wasn't a personality guy. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's the
And
best
there,
way
I
I
mean,
can
there's
say
yeah,
it.
and there's nothing wrong with that. I was just making the comment because I really can't give a full picture opinion on what I think of him, just because I haven't seen a lot of him. But what I've seen, I've liked.
Oh yeah, in the
Good,
ring, bell
good.
to bell, he's awesome. And he hit a cutter in the match, which you don't see that at this point. You didn't see that a lot in wrestling. I mean, DDP
Mm-hmm.
was doing it or whatever, but wasn't a big thing. I mean, and Steve technically was a cutter, so maybe I'm talking around, but just the version that he hit, it's like you don't see that very much.
Right.
And I just enjoyed the match, and they told a good story. Like they started out chain wrestling and being respectful, and I liked how he was like Smith really didn't get the advantage of Taz at the beginning, but he kind of went a little bit with him. So then he shook his hand. But the minute Johnny Smith got him out of the ring and kind of one upped him, he wanted to shake Taz's hand, and then Taz was like, "Fuck you," like
Yeah.
I just enjoyed that part of it. And I just thought it was a good match. I like a match that tells a story, and this match told
Mm-hmm.
a story.
Well, I liked the finish too, because the finish was the way that it's told the story. Um, Johnny Smith gets, I believe it was a suplex on Taz. If I wrote this down correctly, he gets a suplex on Taz, I believe, and that I dropped my shit. And then the because of that, he affects his own shoulder, and then Taz gets him in a Taz mission and winds up winning the matchup. Um,
Yeah.
so the story was great, and Smith kind of quote unquote did himself in But yeah, like Aaron said, really good match. And it went the right amount of time. The only negative that I could say about it is the annoying whistle thing.
And then he's even annoying at the end of the match. Like Taz cuts a great promo or whatever, saying he respects Johnny Smith, and then he cuts his promo about Taz being afraid of him, and then Alfonso just keeps screaming "Team Taz, Team Taz, Team." It's like, oh my god, you are too much right now. Like,
Doesn't
I
he
don't
even
know if it's.
doesn't he even
I don't know.
scream doesn't he even scream something that couldn't be a chant? Like he's even like Sabu's afraid of Taz or something like that. Like he starts
I
saying
have no
something over and
fucking
over again.
idea.
It was like he was trying to get a chant started with something that could never be formulated into a chant.
I have no fucking idea. But just this time, and I'm not saying I don't like Bill Alfonso or whatever, but for some reason at this match, on this show, I was like, this fucking guy needs to go. I do not like it right now.
Yeah, he was definitely sensory overload on this event.
Yes.
In the next segment, we cut to Joey Styles. He says that Johnny Smith is injured because of that match and hasn't been able to wrestle and lost money because he couldn't tour Japan recently. So he is challenging Taz to a submissions only match at the ECW arena. I kind of have the dates screwed up with some of this because they're talking about two events. They're talking about this Saturday sometimes during this show, and they're also talking about the Ultimate Jeopardy match event coming up in like 2 weeks. So throughout the show, I kind of got confused which matches were on which shows. It doesn't matter that much, but usually I write it down. But
Yeah.
there's a submissions match coming up between Taz and Johnny Smith.
I miss in wrestling people talking about like you costing me money.
Mm-hmm.
I miss that. Like ultimately, that's what this is about. It's about making money as a sport. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I miss that, and I miss like just like a match, and oh, this guy lost, so it's gonna take him down the contendership a little bit. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I kind of miss that, but I know they do top contender 4-way matches sometimes or whatever, but it's like, how is it determined that these guys were the top 4 contenders?
Right.
Like that little Dragonoff guy, little German guy or whatever, Russian. He's Russian, isn't he?
Yes.
I've seen that dude lose more than he's won since he's been on Raw. And he's always in these top contender matches or whatever. I'm like, why? He keeps losing. Like he lost his first match.
Yeah, by the logic of if it was real, he should be sent back to NXT. You need more
It's like
seasoning.
you're not doing very good here. And now you're hurt. You've just proved it. Anyway.
You need to conduct yourself back to NXT. Yes, but I agree with you, and it's the storytelling. We're not dissing Ilya at all. Ilya is a fantastic fucking wrestler.
Yeah.
But then there's a segment here. I understand why we're doing it. Obviously, I understand why we're doing it, but I have a problem with it. The 2 times they do it during this show, and I'll tell you why in a minute. Joey talks about the WWF being on pay-per-view in Philadelphia this past week. Of course, we all know it was the Mind Games pay-per-view with the classic Shawn Michaels Mankind match on it, where the ECW. That's a great pay-per-view. And the ECW invades. They're on the outside. They get involved in the strap match between Savio Vega and Justin Hawk Bradshaw. And of course, he says the WWF will not allow us to show footage from their pay-per-view on our TV show. But we had an ECW fan in attendance, and here's fan cam footage. My problem is the fan must have been literally on the wrestler's side of the barricade filming, because the fan cam footage is literally just the WWF footage without any commentary. And they put the fan cam thing over it. It does not even appear to be like, it's not like a guy out in the audience. It's like a guy at ringside on the wrestler's side of the barricade is the fan cam. I have a little bit of a problem with that. It's kind of silly. I know it's stupid for me to pick at it, but it's silly.
Yeah, it is what it is. They did somewhat grain it. I mean, I don't want to say grain it up a little bit, but it had a little bit of the ECW quality to it. But
No. Yes, they
it,
totally changed that. They did that. But what I'm saying is, why would the fan with the fan cam at the WWF show be so close to the action? Is all I'm saying.
it was Kevin Kelly. He was the fan.
But yeah, it's the Sandman, Tommy Dreamer, and Paulie Dangerously or Paul Heyman show up at the WWF pay-per-view, and then they do the same thing with the fan cam. The fan they show when Taz showed up on Monday Night Raw the next night and got into the ring. Again, I enjoy the sentiment. I think that the invading thing was cool because it was kind of like ECW being like, we know you're bigger than us, but this town is our territory. So from their perspective, it makes sense. I just thought that they should have made the camera thing look a little more realistic. Anyway, no big deal.
I agree.
Any comments on this? On the ECW invading the WWF thing? Obviously, we know at this point they are literally Vince and Paul Heyman are working together. But
I don't want to talk. I don't want to talk too much about it, but if you weren't a fan in like 1996 or whatever, you might not understand it, and it might not seem like anything now. But as a kid, you were like, "What the fuck is going on? Like, this is crazy."
Why are these guys in this other wrestling federation invading the WWF area?
Yeah,
and they did a really good job on both sides of making it look real. Like,
yeah,
Savio and JBL don't sell it like it's a wrestling angle. They sell it like they're like, what the fuck? What the fuck? Like, what the fuck? And everybody did a good job in making it look realistic.
and it wasn't like overt, or I don't want to say it like now, like when something happens, if it's going to be a crazy thing, there's like seats that are blocked off, or you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, or people around that you can tell are like, plants or but like Taz, as far as I know, if everything that I've ever heard was real, like Taz jumped the guardrail at that WWF show. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, they knew he was gonna do it, but they didn't tell like arena security. They didn't have like security guys out there with him when he ran out to do it. Like he just knew when to jump it, and he jumped it, and whatever happens with security happens with security. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I'm sure there were WWF guys out there too, but he legitimately had to fight through arena security to get over that like, because everything I've heard, Paulie's told him like, you do what you got to do to get over that railing. We don't want it to leak out that this is a work.
Right.
So
good job done by everybody on both sides.
Yeah.
All right, the next segment is
I like this.
It's I don't know. I wrote down here the next segment is goofy, most of it, but entertaining. I thought it was funny that we got like the real quick footage of the Meanie Babe getting slapped by New Jack. Like there was, it was like pop, and then they went away, and then it was like, well, the Meanie Babe is gone.
Yeah, she got slapped by something. I don't know what it was.
Yeah, she
Looked
got
like
slapped.
banana peels and jizz. Yeah. And then she got smacked, and they were like, well, she left.
She's gone. She's out.
She's gone.
And then, of course, they have to explain once again why Mustafa's not at an event. They always go with he's been arrested or something. But so it's New Jack.
Actual.
He's either arrested or he's too fucked up to show up that night. New Jack is in the ring, and then Stevie Richards and the Blue Meanie come out dressed as the Public Enemy. New Jack beats the fuck out of them. and then he defeats them. But then after the match, they beat him up. And then we get an entire 5-minute segment of Stevie and Meanie doing their impersonation, pretty good impersonation actually, of the Public Enemy.
What I liked about the match, I like when I like when a heels or whatever think something's going to completely work out for them, and it's just a complete fail. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
they ended up getting the upper hand after the match, but during the meat of the match, they just epically failed against New Jack. You know, it's kind of like when I said when Missy Hyatt got Kane in the head a couple weeks ago, and all the heels are just like, "Well, that didn't work."
That's over.
And they all just left. But yeah, but anyway, I enjoyed the little hardcore thing and him kicking the shit out of both of them. And then I actually enjoyed the Public Enemy parody or whatever. I thought it was fun. And they got some good jokes in there, and
Yeah, they do a joke about how, if Vince they say thank you Vince, because if Vince can bring in a
thanks,
fake
Vince.
razor, thanks Vince. If they can bring a fake razor and a fake razor and fake diesel, then they can be the Public Enemy. And then Joey comes back and of course talks about how Vince McMahon wants to kill his own company by having a couple of imposters. That's his business, but you goofs, pretty much. But then they come back and say, thanks, Eric, because there was a fake sting on Monday
There's a fake
Nitro.
thing.
So
Yeah,
we can be the Public Enemy.
They're just doing what works. And and out of all the people that left, and I know they eventually did, but the bloom was off the rose. I honestly think he thought those were the guys he was going to get back.
Public Enemy? Yeah.
Yeah, because I think there's a couple times even after this where Public Enemy gets brought up, and they talk about how, though they're not in the ECW anymore, they're proud of what the Public Enemy did here. You know what I mean? Like even in this thing, the Blue Meanie and Stevie are making fun of Public Enemy, but Joey's going on to make sure, to say Public Enemy was still one of the foundations of this company, and we wouldn't be where we were at without Public Enemy and shit like that. So I think he thought those guys were gonna eventually come back. I really do.
I agree. And that was where they were their best for as many things that they did that were annoying or whatever, or as many times as we would sometimes poke fun. Public Enemy was their best when they were in ECW. They fit ECW,
Yeah, they were in when they got to WCW. They were Public Enemy for what, 3 months, 4 months, and then they were I don't want to say it because it's gonna sound like I'm diminishing this tag team, which I'm not. But they got there. They were kind of still similar to what they were for a little bit, and then they were the Bushwhackers.
Yeah, they were the 1996 version of the Bushwhackers in WCW. And again, like Aaron said, it's not making fun of the Bushwhackers, but they weren't. It's like going from the sheep herders to the Bushwhackers. The sheep herders were the sheep herders, and the Bushwhackers were the Bushwhackers. Two completely different things.
Yep.
Well, then Joey brings up that the Gangsters will be facing Stevie and Meanie on Saturday. Or maybe Stevie and Meanie say they're going to face. My notes just say Gangsters versus Stevie and Meanie on Saturday, something from the past. So, anyway, next up we get footage of it's edited footage of the match. It's the match. I'm sure the match was super long. It's a 6-man tag: the Eliminators and Brian Lee against Tommy Dreamer and the reunited Dr. Death and Terry Gordy. what you see of the match obviously is really good. I don't know if you have any specific notes. I don't have any specific notes on the
I
match
don't have any
itself.
specific notes except there's like two things I think they could have got rid of that would have made this match a whole lot better.
Okay.
And it's Brian Lee and Tommy Dreamer.
Yeah. But I mean, I guess in the logic of the situation, you have to get the thing with Brian Lee and Terry Gordy settled because of the whole Asiatic spike thing and all that. But the finish comes when the eliminators hit a total elimination on Terry Gordy.
I'm just tired of Brian Lee and Tommy Dreamer. I'm tired of it. It's the Hunter Goldust, DDP, Johnny B. Bad feud of ECW. Like this thing is just going and going and going, and it's not getting any better. Like I know Raven and Dreamer feuded forever, but it just kept getting better. This little mini whatever with Dreamer and Lee is just like, oh my god, it's the same fucking shit.
Yeah, two of these things are not like the others.
Yeah, they're like, check out this crazy footage from the ECW house show this week over the weekend, and it's them brawling in a park. It's like we've seen this. They've brawled in like every park in Philadelphia. Tired of it.
But I totally agree with you. I'm not a big fan of like there are times in his career, and I know that he is line a lot on this show, but there are times in his career where I actually don't despise Tommy Dreamer. He's done some things in his career that I think are good. I'm not a fan of Brian Lee. Whatever.
I'm not either.
I could just do without him.
And I like Tommy Dreamer. I mean, I know we make fun of him and put him on Tommy and his fucking high school drama class actings or whatever, but like you said, there's points where I like the guy, and like we're gonna get into like his feud with Terry Funk, and I like it when he feuds their teams with Shane and shit like that, and I like all the stuff with Raven, but there's just a couple points where I just don't want anything to do with him, and this feud with Brian Lee is one of it. It's like,
I'm with you. I'm with you on that one. Well, Joey Styles then, after the match is shown, talks about the ongoing feud also that's going on between Terry Gordy and Brian Lee. And then Terry Gordy and Dr. Death come in the scene. Gordy talks about how they want to get their hands on the Eliminators and cuts a little promo. And then Joey says, "What do you think, Doc?" And then they spend literally like 40 seconds of Doc just looking at the camera. And it's the most effective guy never talking in 40 seconds I've ever seen in my life.
Because it's Dr. Death Steve fucking Williams, and he shouldn't talk.
and he's staring at me like that.
Yeah. Like, this guy's more intimidating when he's not telling you what he's going to do to you.
And I wonder if some of that was Paulie recognizing that, God bless
him,
definitely. Steve Williams is a terrible fucking promo. Terrible promo.
He's probably like, you're not going to be able to do this.
Like there's that one, I forget which one it is, but there's that Clash of the Champions in the NWA where they put fucking Dr. Death on color. And I'm like, who decided this was a good idea?
Yeah. The War Games promo where he's acting like he's an airplane. It's like, what's happening?
What's going on?
But no, Paulie was very much accentuate the positives, get rid of the negatives. You know what I mean? Like, and he was smart in that aspect, and not having Dr. Death talk is one of the best things you could do. I've always thought that too. Is like that guy never really had a manager per se. I think if like a Dr. Death would have had like a Jim Cornette or like a Gary Young or somebody like, you know what I mean? Somebody like that with him, they would have been a different world for him here, I think.
I agree. Then we get another Shane Douglas, another shitty heel Shane Douglas promo. Not a shitty promo, but a shitty heel Shane Douglas. He says he's at the gym that the pit bulls go to. He's been waiting for him all day. Apparently, they're not showing up. And then he's pretty much saying, hey, Pitbull number 2, have you stopped your workout regiment because Pitbull number 1 can't work out anymore? Blah, blah, blah. And then he talks about how he's going to go do a few reps. So he's, again, just rubbing it in that he's crippled a man.
Well, he doesn't even say he's going to go do a few reps. No, sir. He says he's done with his workout. And it's time. It's almost time for him to go home. And then he walks right into the shower without dropping a towel. So, because they pan down to his legs, and his legs are whatever. So, if you're looking at wanting this to be like a reality-based thing, Shane Douglas is apparently cutting this promo naked. I know he really wasn't naked, but he's walking into the shower, and they don't show him take off a towel. I'm like, ew.
It's a full Monty franchise.
It's a cutting your promo and your things out.
It's full Monty franchise.
Yeah, like gross, man.
We get then another promo from the Eliminators on Dr. Death and Terry Gordy. And I love the sentiment of Saturn in these promos that he cuts on Doc and Gordy, because every time it's the same promo, but he does it with such intensity that it's fine that it's the same promo. We're the
Doc and Gordy.
We're the best tag team in the world, except Doc and Gordy. Doc and like they're so sick and fucking tired of hearing about Doc and Gordy. I love it. I love his cadence in these Doc and Gordy promos.
Well, I've always been a fan. I was always a fan of the guy. You know what I mean? Like all throughout his career. Like I liked him in WCW when he came in and had like the air raid horn as his music, and even when he did like the dress thing, and like I liked him in WWE, WWF, WWE the whole time he was there. Like I didn't even hate Moppy. I know he got Moppy because of punishment, but I think he did a good job with it, you know. But personality wise, this is my favorite Saturn here, just like because he's intense, and yeah, I just, but like I said, I always liked the guy, but this is like personality wise my favorite version of Perry Saturn.
I agree. Then we get a kind of a substantial debut here, as we see footage from the When Worlds Collide show, and Joey says there's a new Dudley boy. He's only 18 years old, and his name is Spike Dudley. And then in grand Spike Dudley fashion, we are introduced to him by him torpedoing himself off the stage onto a bunch of other people. Welcome to ECW, Spike Dudley. Or welcome to Spike Dudley, ECW.
Yeah. I enjoyed Spike in ECW because his character was what it was. But you know my opinions on it once he winds up in like the WWF or whatever. I'm just like,
I know your post ECW opinions on Spike, but
yeah, I don't buy it. But anyway, and I shouldn't say I won't buy it. I'll never take away the fact that the guy was like, how do I say it? Like he did something I couldn't do and I wouldn't be willing to do, and he was a bumping machine, and that part of it was impressive. But anyway, I won't talk too bad about it. But this is a big deal because it's the first mention and appearance of Spike Dudley and that faction or crew or whatever is going to finally start taking its final form. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So I'm looking forward to that.
I think that's pretty much a wrap for the show. All I wrote down here is that Joey talks about the Ultimate Jeopardy match coming up, which those are always confusing as fuck.
Well,
like
if Lee gets pinned,
17 stipulations in one match.
this is 4. If Lee loses, he has to shave his head. If Raven loses, whoever pins him gets the belt. If Sandman loses, he gets caned by Peaches. And if Tommy loses, Beulah's got to leave ECW. And then I looked on a couple shows ahead, and apparently when we get to the match, Raven's not in it, and Stevie's going to be defending his belt again for him.
That sounds about right. His Ultimate Jeopardy matches are always like, what the fuck is going on?
Now, anyway, this one was pretty cut and dry. It wasn't as bad as that last one where it was like, these two guys are going to start on the stage. And then once they get off the stage, then Tommy or then Stevie will get released from his coon trap or whatever that he was in.
and then we start a whole new
cage.
Then after 15 minutes, we switch the stipulation to something else. And blah, blah, blah. Ridiculous. Overall, though, like I said, and this is a kind of a shorter, just about 40-minute edition of our show, this was a good 40 minutes of ECW. I didn't find anything I didn't like except the whistle. That was about the only negative I could find in this episode. I thought it was a really good show.
I agree. I thought about when I talked to you about having the. I'm just saying I agree with this, but just joking around or whatever. When I was talking about having the alternative Kane Federation. It's all just different
versions of Kane.
Different versions of Kane. Because I don't know if you guys are aware, but there's Gain, and it's Gay Kane. Did you get what I was saying when I talked about him getting ready to do the pyro and then he hits his pose? Have you seen that?
Yes.
Oh, it's kind of fucking funny, man. That guy going like that. Oh, it's just great.
Check it out, folks, if you haven't seen it.
Yeah, but I don't like to give that Effie guy a lot of credit. Like his little, I think that Game Changer wrestling crew or whatever, I think it's bad for the business, and I don't like it. But Gain is funny. I was like, what else could I do in my alternate wrestling federation? Where it's just like all these different crazy things, and I thought of one. I don't think it's a match that's never happened, and I wanted to get it happen in my alternate wrestling federation. It's gonna be 2 bald guys, and the loser has to grow hair.
Has to grow his hair out.
Yeah, he has to grow his hair out.
No matter how bad your hair is, you have to grow it out.
No matter the reason you shave that. It could be spotchy. It could be like a George Costanza type situation. It doesn't matter. Until you have to grow your hair back.
And also, until you stop working here, you can't get a haircut.
Yeah, you have to grow your hair out.
It's dome versus dome.
Loser must grow their hair back. I think that'd be fantastic. But anyway.
Yes, anybody that is following along as we are watching the shows, next week's show will be October 8th, 1996. If you have any questions, comments, if you want to make any comments about, if you watch an episode, you'd like us to mention your comments on the air, go ahead and email me, relivingtheextreme@gmail.com, or you can join the WNR Facebook group and message any one of us anytime. We're not like, we're just guys. We're not like big dog guys. They're going to be like, oh, who's this cretin sending me a Facebook message? It's not how we roll. We're just dudes doing a podcast talking about ECW. So if you send us a message or an email, you're going to get a reply. I'll say that. We appreciate listeners. We appreciate support. We appreciate interaction. Nothing is ever a bother. Even a negative review is fine. It gives me constructive criticism, as long as you're not just like, you guys are butt or something like that. Like, give me positive constructive criticism is not hated on here. I mean, what would you like to hear? Is there anything you'd like us to do different? It's fine.
And if it's something making fun of us or whatever, I'll hurt your feelings.
Yeah, we'll make fun back. We make fun of each other, for fuck's sake. It's part of the fucking thing. That's what we do. But anyway, I don't know. We'll figure out if Chad is still alive or whatever, and hopefully he'll be on next week's show. Aaron, say goodbye.
Bye, everybody.
We'll see you next week on Reliving the Extreme. Have a great week, everybody.